So with the 5th gear speed gear and the spline gear off the shafts, you've got the 5th gear needle bearings, plural, is 2 halves. So just take those out. The needles are sort of locked in there, but probably don't drop them to test how well in they are locked. So they just come out. I am bagging and tagging everything. It just looks disgusting. It all needs to get washed. So that is a press-on race for those needle bearings. So that'll have to come off with a puller. But from memory, the intermediate casing, or whatever you want to call this bit, this will just knock up and off now. I'm 9% sure. Sorry, 99% sure. Yeah, no, definitely. No, yeah, so yeah, just basically knock this up somewhere, probably there, that'll work. Oh, not going to go by hand. Alrighty, back soon. Okay, once you have that casing off, the oil guide will not pull out. Actually, no, that goes in from the underside of the bottom piece, so don't yank on that. I don't think there's anything. No, it's just basically just the case, just the front diff housing bolts all the way around, and then this section here will also lift off and leave all 3 components, shafts, sitting there. The center diff, I think that'll lift out if you want to. Yeah, so that'll come out if you want it to. I suppose it doesn't really matter. Oh, does it? Yep. Okay. So the center diff, pull it out. Center diff has to come out. Yuck. Before you can take out this casing. So just give that a tug. There we go. Off the output shaft. And that's your center differential. Right, so eventually after some fighting you'll get all the bolts out around the front diff cover, and basically you just knock it with a soft mallet. Whenever you're separating the casings, always use a soft mallet. If you use a hammer, you're just going to break something. So separate them with a soft mallet, and then, yep, let's have a look. I think she's going to come off. See if we can do it. Another 2 hands job. I get that problem a lot. Right, so once that's off, you are left with the fun bits. So, now we can start pulling the shafts out. Front diff, the pinion shaft. This output shaft will just go out that way. I don't think it'll. No. Oh, the whole thing will probably lift out. You'll have to get the shift fork assemblies off. You can knock the roll pins out and fiddle with them. I can't really disassemble it much further. I can't take the shafts apart here because I don't have a press. I'll have to either borrow one like usual or go out and buy one finally. It's interesting to note on the front diff housing, seems to be an Evo only thing. They have a little mesh filter screen there. I haven't come across that on any GSR front diff covers before. And by the looks of it, let's have a look. There is indeed a small seal in the end of the input shaft here. So that seals on the oil guide, just helps maximize with getting the oil into the shaft to lubricate the bearings. That seal's not present on the 1.8 GSRs. Seems to be an Evo thing. Alrighty, step number 437. I just lifted out the front diff and the output shaft pinion there. All this just lifts out. Not difficult. It is full of gearbox oil. Lovely. So, next thing, knock out the roll pins in the first, second shift fork, the third, fourth shift fork, unbolt the reverse idler and the arm. Don't lose the small foot that engages with the reverse gear over here. Just remove all that, keep it in as a block bag. Now, pulling this assembly out, you have to move the fifth reverse fork over to the side and out of the way. The first, second shift fork, you can move that over to the left, and then now if you do this right, I think the third, fourth fork will also go over to, don't think you've got, no, it's not in gear. Okay, cool. So yeah, that one there, lift this one up, lift up fifth reverse, or just get it out of the way. Now this, if you get it, come on, one-handed job again. Just grab the end of that with some pliers. Don't do this at home. Actually, don't do that at all. Okay, so I think you have to probably line that up, pull that way, rotate the first and second forks over to the left, and then once you get all these free, you can lift this whole assembly out. Both shafts, shift fork assemblies, it'll all just lift out as one big piece, and then you can strip it. Okay, so that is how the shafts and forks are out of the box. There's your input shaft, intermediate shaft, or first, second, third, fourth, fifth not on here because we removed it off the end. That's your first gear pair. The sub gear is part of the input shaft. This is on a needle bearing. First, second hub slider. Second gear, this is on a needle bearing. This is part of the input shaft. It's the opposite for third and fourth, so these are both on needle gears. These are part of the intermediate shaft. That's your third, fourth hub and slider. Those things are rocking horse poo nowadays. Now, disassembly of these, basically you have to get the lock ring off the end, get the bearing off, and you'll be able to lift that off, hopefully pull that off, lift that off. Need to pull that off, pull the sleeve off, pull that bearing off, that'll lift off, that might lift off, that'll lift off, part of the shaft, part of the shaft, part of the shaft, and you'll need a puller for that one as well. No snap ring, interestingly. The FTO box I did a while ago had a snap ring. The GSR and the Evo don't. Interesting. What else is important to look at? If you're inspecting it on the bench and you're not planning on stripping it any further, you'll want to look at the, just engage a gear, there we go. So you'll want to look at the synchros, get it to focus. So this is second gear, this is a double synchro, but you can only see the outer ring. The teeth are pretty good nick. The dog teeth on second look pretty good. Come on, focus. Focus. Bit difficult. They're pretty good as well, the teeth on the slider. If we look at first, one other thing to check. The reverse, so this is your reverse here, here, and then there's an idler in between. These wear, the ones on the idler wear, and the ones on here wear, the front of the tooth, I suppose you say. So if they wear too far, it can pop out a reverse. You can replace this, you can't replace this, and you can't buy the shaft anymore. So be gentle. What else? Third, fourth, so on this transmission these will both be double synchronizers. Push it too far. So if we look at third, should be no worse than second. Most people smash it into second. As for clearance between the gear and the synchro, it's Still a bit of a gap there. That's as far down as I can push it. The teeth on the gear, on the dog teeth, look pretty good. The actual teeth of the gears themselves, I haven't seen anything unusual on any of them. This box is in, I think, pretty good nick. Well, either this is in good nick or it's not, and the one in my GSR was just totally fucked. Because it was way worse than this. Anyway, so these are going to get stripped all the way down. I don't know if I'll get that on video or not. We'll see how we go.